I'll let you do a quick blind poll. Blind poll involves you putting your hand over your eye and raising your hand if this counts for you. Let's not worry about whether you're inspiring leaders or not. Let's look at your performance. Can you just please all cover your eyes with one hand and have the other hand free that you can put it up? If you consider yourself, just cover your eye with one hand. That's it. That's it. Cover your eyes, sir. That's it. Yeah. Raise your hand if you think you're in the top 10% of high performers in the group. Raise your hand. Come on, top 10%. Yeah, that's it. Good. Yeah, raise your hand. Yep. Okay. Keep your hands up if you're in the top 20%. Add to that group. Top 20%. Top 30. Top 40. Top 50. Okay, hands down. Keep your eyes covered. If you're in the bottom 50%, put your hands up. How very interesting. Thank you. Okay, hands down. So what I learned there, of course, is all the high performers are in the room today, which is really encouraging. The other thing which organizations do, and I know your organization will be doing this in the future, is, you can take your hands away now. You having a little sleep there, weren't you? No one will notice. I'll talk about naps later on. Another quick blind poll. You're going to be soon doing an employee engagement survey, which is really, how engaged are you? So I'm going to be asking you, again, blind poll, so you won't see what your colleagues are doing, whether you think you're highly engaged, and I'll ask you to raise your hand, with your hand over your face. You're engaged, whether you're neutral, on the fence that is, slightly disengaged, or utterly disengaged. Okay? So please, hands over the eyes. Okay? Now, those who think they're engaged, please raise your hands if you're engaged. Okay? Hands down. If you're slightly engaged, hands up. Okay? If you're neutral, if you're on the fence, hands down those, but if you're on the fence, neutral. Okay? And hands down. And if you're slightly disengaged? Yeah, and if you're very disengaged? Okay? Thank you. Okay, hands away. Gives us a bit of an idea of the cross-section. There is work to us to do on leadership in the group. Am I right? Give me a thumbs up if you think there's work to be done on leadership. Yes, I'm seeing lots of thumbs going up. Okay. It's a task which is like Sisyphus rolling a boulder up a hill. Once you get to the top, it rolls down again and you've got to start all over again. You can never give up on it. In your pairs now, please discuss 2 minutes each way, so I'm going to give you about 4 minutes. What does finding and follow your own true north mean to you? And what does overload mean for you in the Emirates group as far as you're experiencing? So please, in your pairs, can you have a discussion? I'll keep an eye on the time and I'll call you back. Make sure you give each other time. 2 minutes each way. Okay, can I have you back in the room? And have we got 2 assistants with microphones? Has someone got some microphones to walk around? Have we got any loose microphones for people to run up and down? Is there anybody with mics who can we do, I think you got one, yeah, great, okay. So, who'd like to give us a little bit of feedback from their discussion, what they heard from their partner? Anybody want to just volunteer something? Please raise your hand. Come on, this is about leadership, it's about having courage and humility, both go together nicely. Anybody? Come on, doesn't matter. Right, sir, over there. We've got, thanks. I'd love to hear what your partner said. No, first, oh, okay, we've got one at the front. Okay, you go first, sir. You go first. No, go.
Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, really the first question that came to me when reading the first one was how should I dissociate that from my personal or professional life?
Can you hear at the back? Can we turn the microphone up a bit?
Sorry. So I was saying, should I be dissociated my personal and professional life to get an answer for that? My true north, and thinking about it, I tried other jobs, other things that didn't quite resonate with me. A lot of ticket boxes and things like this. And I think it was finding actually a balance between what's inside you, what you would like to do in life. For me, really being around people, I need to be in a team. I can work on my own, I can do that. Having people around. So it was finding this balance.
Good. And what does overload mean for you in Emirates?
Monkeys on the back.
Monkeys on your back, yeah.
Yes. So sometimes it's finding the right balance between just taking them or not.
Good.
working around IT.
Well, let's just, while the microphone's being taken to your colleague further up, I want to tell you a story about monkeys on your back. When I was chief of staff of a very large brigade in the army, I thought big thing I wanted to have, very excited, got the job, found I was completely overloaded, overwhelmed. And I had monkeys on my back, which like problems, and people came into my office with monkeys on their back, and I'd say, leave it with me, which meant the monkey was in my room. So I had a zoo. Literally, the room was full. I was trying to close briefcases. There were monkey arms coming out of it. I was taking it home with the monkeys, and I'd open them, and they'd bounce around the room and try and work at home. Then I'd come in early and work on the monkeys, and there were just monkeys everywhere. There were desks, in those days of files. Remember those old days? Files, and people give you bits of paper. But even the emails in those days, it was just powering in. And I thought, I'm going to have to ask for a move. I can't do this. It's too much. And before I did, I met a coach. And the coach said to me, okay, the GROW model, T-GROW, T-G-R-O-W. What's the topic? What's the goal? What's the reality? What's the option? What are you willing to do? So I tried that the next person who came in. They came in, they had a gorilla on their back. It was the finance director. And she went, Jonathan, you've got a problem. I went, oh, I'll try this one out. I said, no, what's our problem? And she said, oh, I said, don't sit down. I said, just tell me, what's the topic? She told me the topic. I said, what would you like to achieve? Because I'm going to a meeting in 5 minutes. What would you like to achieve in 5 minutes? And she told me, I need someone to help me with the budget. I said, okay. Reality. Give me some of the facts. She gave me some of the facts. I said, okay, bottom line that. What options have you got? She only got one option. I said, no, if you had 3 options, what would they be? She suddenly said, oh, okay. And she gave me 2 more. I said, can I build on that? I built on it. I said, can you build on that? She built on it. I said, so what are you willing to do? She said, I'm going to do this. Good. Chance of you doing it? 1 out of 10? And she goes, it's a 6. I said, what would make it a 10? Well, if Mary could help me, I'll arrange for that. So she's suddenly gone out. She's got her gorilla with her still. And I said, oh, before you go, I've got this monkey-shaped finance problem. Can you take it with you? And she took one of my monkeys with her. And so bit by bit, I began to empty my office of monkeys by coaching other people. So really, coaching is a great way to get other people to take accountability. So thank you. You raised a good one. Sir, you were going to go up there. Next one. Can you hear at the back? Can I have to shout a bit?
Can you hear me at the back now? Is that better?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we can. Okay.
We talked about finding and following your true knowledge as doing something you're passionate about that doesn't feel like work, and something that perhaps comes quite easily to you as well.
Yeah. Okay. And what does overload mean for you in this group?
We talked about emails that need answering immediately, all of the time, and having too much work and too many gaps that you can't fill by yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Guys, we could talk much more. What we're going to arrange at the end is we'll have a sort of way, if you had further questions for Lee and myself, you're going to be able to send it to a central location to yourself. And she'll pass it on and we'll answer your questions. One of those things that we do. Okay. Just raise your hand if you've heard us talk about VUCA before. Hopefully you have. 1, 2, okay? A few. So volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and we've added sustainability. Basically, you only need to look at the news, and I just picked up the paper this morning in the hotel. Airline sector to return to profitability in 2018. Thank God for that. IATA says, and huge hurdles remain for Mid-East airlines despite profits doubling. So you're making lots of money, guys. But you're not feeling that, are you? You're maybe not feeling that. Certainly from the conversations that we're having, you're feeling the pinch. It's been a time of massive growth, and then there's a dip of profitability from about 8% to 2.5. It's tougher. And so what happens is there's a Sergeant Major knee-jerk reaction where cut this, cut that, stop recruiting, don't have this, not enough pilots, you can't have any holiday. What do you mean holiday? You don't need a holiday? Keep working. Whatever it is, I'm making light of it, but it's a serious topic. People find different ways of doing it, some successful, some not. But in this environment where you've got issues with Qatar, and you've got issues with Iran and Yemen, and you've got issues with Saudi Arabia, and you've got artificial intelligence, you've got cyber warfare, you can go on. We're just having a conversation about it over lunch. But everything is changing. The future cyborgs, human computer interface, electric cars, everything's changing. It's Churchill who said, when confronted by change, it's better to take it by the hand. If you don't, it'll take you by the throat. So, change is inevitable, resistance is futile. Get on and face it. Don't be the victim. Choose to be an inspiring leader. So much is going on in that world. Another quote that Lee and I love from this Harvard professor: we have Paleolithic emotions, emotions from years gone by, medieval institutions. The hierarchy that you've got in your organization probably would be recognized by most people in the Knights Templar, stuck in Acre in what is now, the West Coast. So not much has changed, but yet we've got godlike technology. Everything is changing. We feel like we've got our arm cut off. I was having palpitations until they could give me Wi-Fi here, like shaking, I've got to be connected again. And that's the other thing which causes such problems with the age of overload, is social media overloads us. And we ask it to. We go, yeah, put me on Facebook with 10 million people I don't know. And let me have a photograph of myself. Oh, do I look fat in this one? Ooh, can I just brush that chin out and all this kind of... And we just... And we give it to our kids. Here, have a phone. Yeah, you too can be screwed up like mummy and daddy. Yeah. So it becomes addictive. So we got the drink and we got the drugs, now we've got the phones. Yeah, great man. So, how do we cope with that? And of course we've then got Moore's Law, where every 2 years processing computer power doubles and they become more efficient. And that was back in 1965 he was talking about that. So Lee and I did a lot of work, a lot of research. Lee wrote a book called Inspiring Women. We've written some of the books on here that we did, but also some other ones which you'll find useful if you want to look at or take just what people do now. They don't write anything down, they just take a picture with their phone, don't they? Done. On Inspiring Women Leaders, she interviewed 200 women around the world, particularly some in the Middle East, some in Africa and all sorts, which led her to do the charity work that she's now doing, because she found leaders wanted to put back into society. But we found that everybody knew about IQ. Most of you here are hard for IQ. Yeah, bright people. But that only accounts, as you can see there, for 6% of people's potential and performance when we've researched this. Then the next big wave that came in, everybody's going, rah, rah, EQ, emotional and social intelligence. That's the important thing. And yes, it's 5 times more important. But what's the missing 64%? That was what really interested us. What are the other bits that add to make people more inspiring? Which is where we did this psychometric, the research. So it's an online self-assessment from our website if everybody's ever interested. And the profits that we have goes to our charity for vulnerable young girls in the slums of Kenya, in a community centre we're doing in South Africa, and we're also looking at Nepal post-earthquake, some years after it, and also in the southeast of London, where some of the people have been through a lot of abuse and in very difficult situations, trying to get back into work from education. So this is what we came up with. You've all got the handout on your as you came in, and as we go through this, I'd like you to sort of like self-score yourself out of 10. So as we do MQ, if you were to take the psychometric, how do you think you'd score on it, on your moral integrity? And when we look at health and well-being, how is your mental health? How is your physical health? Yeah, there's a big thing here in the country about this big drive for fitness. So as we go through, just score yourself 1 out of 10 on each of them. It's just for you, and then afterwards on your own, you could perhaps talk about it with others and think about how you're doing. So this is a bit of a check-in with yourself. We've got a cartoonist to do some cartoons. Some may be able to read this from the front, but for those who aren't at the back, you've got the boss sitting there, and he said, well, it's not technically misrepresentation, it's just a little bit of data massage. And people are going, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, because they don't want to be involved. And the question for you is, do you challenge toxic behaviors, or are you just a bystander to them? Because you know what is right, and you know what is wrong. But we find in many organizations we're in, the desperation to hit the numbers. One guy said to me in a supermarket chain, he said, some of those guys in Tesco, which is a supermarket chain in the UK, went to jail for for adjusting the figures to make it look like they were. And we sometimes do that in our supermarket chain. I said, you cannot do that. You will go to jail for that. You've got to have moral integrity. And it's all about character. It's a bit like, if anybody knows the statue of David by Michelangelo. Any nodding of heads going on? Yeah? Chiseled out of a block of marble. Can you imagine how to chisel that and get the veins and the small fingernails? Like that. If some, oh no! You can't sort of glue it back together again or make another. It has to start all over again. Just imagine the effort that goes into chiseling that character out of the block of marble. And that's what you are. You have a character, an upbringing that comes from you. Don't sell it cheaply. You've got morals, you've got integrity, you've got principles and values. Lee and I had a great time on the flight over with Emirates. We've flown with you twice now. And we met a lovely guy. Let's see if I can remember his name. Yeah, Mehmet Cinko, Cinkol, Mehmet. So I want to see if this works. He was really good. He's a cabin supervisor and he had a great team on board the aircraft. It was model treatment of customers. Fabulous trip. And I wonder if the word will get back to him. So if any of you are around as managers, I want you to catch him doing it right this time. Not wrong. He's done nothing wrong. He's done really well. So let's see if that, I'll check with him in about a week's time, whether it ever got back, whether the system works or not. But that. How do you score yourself on this? I've talked with my own personal story, and I made it very raw and very real. But what gives your life meaning and purpose? And when you're in charge, do you create a clear why you're doing certain things? There was a very good book, quite a moving book, by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. And he was tortured by the Nazis. He went through horrendous experiences. But he said, that famous quote, which I think comes from Goethe as well, he who has a clear why can cope with any how and any what. You've got to have a clear why you're doing things. So if you're asking people to do things on your behalf or the organization's behalf, don't hide behind somebody else. Don't say, the boss made me do this, but I disagree with her. That's really disloyal. Make it come from you. And if you've got an issue with it, discuss it with the boss beforehand. Try and resolve it somehow. And either it might be an issue if it's such a big issue that you have to resign over, or you've got to go with it and get on with it as if it's your own. But don't blame them up the chain. Take personal accountability. And the little cartoon there is about leaving you at the door. Don't leave yourself at the door. Take yourself into work, the whole of you. Not at work I'm like this person, at home I'm like that person. That's not how you should be. That's called a disintegrated personality. Two different people. Sometimes called schizophrenia. Okay? Put them together and be one person. Bring the whole of you to work. Yeah? They want all of you. They want your thinking power. And at the bottom it says, be authentically yourself. Everyone else is taken. A quote from Oscar Wilde. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. Then live your life on purpose, not off purpose. And very much what you heard in my story, though, I was just trying to make it clear for you, is find out what living your life on purpose is about. And you'll know when you're off purpose, because I've been off purpose, and I spend a lot of time with people who are off purpose, who are aimless, rudderless. Find your purpose and follow it. Health and well-being. This is a topic in itself. It's a huge area. And I'm really pleased that you've got this health challenge in the Emirates, and it's a big drive to get healthy. But the quote here is, don't sink in a toxic environment. Be a corporate athlete to change yourself and your culture. And you'll see she's deciding to step out of the toxic mire. Doesn't necessarily need you to leave the organization, but I know you're a big group, and I've got to know different parts of the group. And Lee and I have talked to a whole range of different people. And whether you're like pilots and cabin crew have one culture and there's another culture in operations and commercial and so on. It's all very different. But don't let your bit go toxic. And if it is, and you've got a psychopath as a boss, it's time to emigrate. Because if your boss is a psychopath, you can never change him or her. Okay? You have to out them like witches, and they have to be burned. No, they don't have to be burned. Sorry. It sounds really bad. No, you just have to find them and get them out of the organisation. What organisations normally do is they do a compromise agreement. And you'll find that because if you look at their CV, they've done 18 months, 2 years, 18 months, 2 years, 18 months, 2 years, 18 months, 2 years. And you go, oh, that's interesting. And they look very wealthy. And you're trying to work out why, because they kept being paid off and moved on to the next job. Make sure your organisation is healthy. There's a whole range of things. I made your colleagues smile. I had a nap, a power nap before this, before lunch, 20-minute power nap, just went in the back, put an eye patch on and slept, just for 20 minutes. It's incredibly good for you. Does anybody know what high-performing leaders, both in corporate life, but also as Olympic athletes or sports stars, what is the average that high-performing athletes sleep? Anybody give me a clue? 10 hours? 10 minutes. Okay, I'm just talking, not just about 24 hours. So a nap, you can have a 10-minute nap, you are right. No, you are right, Margaret Thatcher, 10 minutes. But in 24 hours, how long do you think it would be? 8 hours. Yeah, not far actually. Yeah, you're almost right. 8 hours, 36 minutes. The 36 minutes, of course, is your nap. And I have found, there's a very good book called Take a Nap, Change Your Life. Get it, read it. And this organisation needs to think about it if it wants to see the performance, because I find instantly, after I have had a nap for 20 to 30 minutes, you need one, I saw the yawn. Okay, so just thinking about it, yeah? I'll lend you my eye patch afterwards, there's a sofa in there. As soon as you've had the power nap, you're up and you're off. It's like you've got the second half of the day. But people carry on working and they get less and less efficient until eventually they're grumpy, they're irritable, they get home, they take it out on everybody else at home who goes, who is this beast who's come home? I didn't marry this person. In fact, he's not the person I married. What are you doing in my house? You live next door. Sorry, that was a bizarre kind of connection there. But anyway, sleep, mindfulness. There's a very good book, a very good app called Headspace. Little app, and 10 minutes of mindfulness. A great way of starting the day, and it's a great way of going to sleep. It's not designed for sleeping, but I find it just completely switches the mind off. So those are 2 great tips for helping you with that. But there's a whole lot around mindfulness, stress, well-being, your emails. Yeah, if you had 2 periods of time of half an hour, and you go into airplane mode the rest of the time, and then just go for it in that half hour, you would be so much more efficient than the drip feed of constantly answering it. Because actually, you've answered 4 times, when if you went in for the half hour in the morning and the half hour in the afternoon, you just answer it once, done, and you save yourself brain problems. Anyway, it fries your brain. Okay, on to, is overload exhausting you? That's the question I'm asking you. Who feels they're more tired than they should be? Please raise your hands. Go on, be honest. Yep, there's a lot, isn't there, in the room? The other book well worth reading is The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McKeown. A lot of us are breathing wrongly. Now, if you look at our children, small, newly born, do they breathe out of their mouth or do they breathe out their nose when they're lying there sleeping? Just tell me. Mixture? It's the nose. Always do it. If you look at tribes in the Amazon, in Africa, when they're running, chasing an animal, their mouths are closed, they are breathing through their nose. Try it from here on in. I even do bizarre things, makes Lee laugh a lot. I put 3M tape over my mouth. It's the micropore tape. And it just closes my mouth. And at night I sleep better than I have ever slept. Just straight into deep sleep. You know, there's different phases, the 4 phases of sleep. I sleep so well because of that. I'm just trying to train myself at first. I think she'd wish me to have micropore tape on during the day as well. But I've just gone for the night. So just from here on in, try when you're doing any exercise of any sort. I'm on the treadmill and I've just got my mouth closed and I'm running. I have to slow it down. Now swimming is a bit of a problem. I breathe outwards from the nostril, but I don't find it easy when I come up breathing into the nostril because half the nostril's in the water, so it doesn't kind of work. But in any kind of physical activity you do, slow it down and do it so you can breathe through your nose. And if you can't breathe through your nose because of medical problems, try and have those addressed. But you'll find it'll make a huge difference. More sleep looks after your health, well-being, your weight, all the whole variety of things, muscle rebuilding. So breathe through the nose. That will help you be less tired, less exhausted. IQ, wisdom and judgment. It isn't about just being smart and passing an IQ test, it's how you make decisions. And this question that I asked you in the beginning, in the Emirates group, are you paid to be busy or are you paid to think? Now there are some very small parts of certain organizations in some parts of the world, people are just paid to be busy. They don't really care what they're doing. Just look as if you're busy and then go home, because we just need you to appear to be working. Just read the paper and then go home. We'll still pay you anyway. I'm sure you've never come across that much. However, most people who want to have a sense of purpose, well-being, and feeling they're making a difference would like to come to work and make a difference. So it's your thinking time, it's your innovation, it's your creativity. And there's huge statistics and there's huge research done in the fact that if you can have strategic thinking time, anybody know how long it is before the brain gets exhausted? What's the ideal period of time if you're working for a meeting or anything? Anybody give me a time? 25? 90? 40? Who said 40? Just raise your hand. Right, sir? You're spot on. 40 minutes. What happens is, in the makeup of the brain, if this is the brain, reptilian, limbic system, chimp brain, and the neocortex, the human brain, it's that limbic system that gets tired. So the production of, the conversion of glucose into energy, either the hormone cortisol or DHEA, stress with cortisol, DHEA with vitality, which we'll talk about in a minute. But after 40 minutes you get a bit tired like that, don't you? It's yawning. Now when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're taking too much oxygen. Now we think yawning is a great thing, and we think lots of mouth breathing is good. But the reason why nasal breathing works is because, bear with me, hemoglobin holds onto oxygen in our bloodstream. It only releases oxygen to your muscles and to the brain in the presence of carbon dioxide, CO2. So if you have too much air coming in and you're getting rid of too much CO2, you're doing the wrong thing. So the brain gets more tired, you get more tired. So it's ironic, you almost need to practice things like holding your nose, seeing how long you can do it for. It's called the Bolt score. 20 seconds is what most people can do. If you can build it to 30 or 40, you'll be so much more fitter. There's my friend Paul down there, who has turned into this very strong young man since he's been training. But now this is the new one, the oxygen advantage. That's the next one, to make you even fitter for your triathlons. But that's one of those factors to think about. So time to think, and meetings. You're often in meetings that have no purpose. Here's my challenge to cause disruption in the whole of the Emirates group. If you get invited to a meeting and you ask them what's the purpose of the meeting, and they can't give it you in a sentence, say, I'm terribly sorry, I'm not coming. Okay? You have my permission. They can write to me. Okay? And I'll tell them about running good meetings. So if you've been invited to a meeting and there is no purpose to the meeting, oh, it's an update. Okay, fine. Send me it. I'll read it. Okay? I'm not coming. All right? So you've got to have meetings that make use of your brain power, and the people who are in the room add value to it. They're not there as wallflowers or decorations or a plant pot. Okay, those are cheaper. They don't have salaries. Just put them in the room on the chairs. And have an empty chair, and the empty chair is your customer chair, and you could write customer on it, or it could even be the regulator. Okay? And anybody can go and sit in that chair and be the customer and say, actually from the customer's point of view, if I was a customer and I was listening to this meeting, I would be shocked. You're trying to fleece us all, and it's not doing any good for us. But you're pretending it's for our good, and it's not. I don't read it. So whatever it is, empty chairs, very useful. Also, empty chairs are useful in a meeting when you've got a difficult conversation with somebody. Perhaps you might need to discipline them or something like that. And you have the empty chair, the third chair. And you say, what would you, and it's often face-saving. It's quite helpful in certain cultures. What would you say to somebody who was here if they said, not coming to work for the last 4 weeks when you're very well, is actually not acceptable? What would you say to them? And they start arguing with the chair. And you respond as if the chair's responding to them. It's called the empty chair syndrome. It gets them over this issue of you're saying they're lazy, or they've been bunking off work, or whatever it might be. Try it. You might find you have an amazing experience. It might be the most bizarre experience that they end up talking to the chair when you've left the room for a long time. And then they need help. Anybody recognize this image over on the left there? Use your emotions intelligently. So you build trust and rapport, and people willingly work for you. Yeah? They don't follow you because they're curious what strange thing you're going to do next that's so bizarre, but they genuinely want to follow you. Emotional and social intelligence, it's a massively important area, and certainly in your profession, and whether you be engineers or pilots or you're in special operations or background or whatever it is, we actually at the moment are working with humans. We're going to start working with robots soon, and you're going to be very useful. Those of you who don't have any emotional intelligence, we'll put you together with them. And we've got a special division for that, which we're setting up early. Just volunteer, and we've got you. So it's a room on the end of a large pile of coal, which they actually had in British coal, that they couldn't get rid of this group, so they gave them, when they were trying to make redundant, they had those that were busy in one room and those they wanted to get rid of in another. This is in the days when you can't do it now. The one they want to get rid of, they had no phones. No one rang them and no mail came in. They were just sitting there at their desk waiting for things. Well, what they hoped was happen was everybody would leave out of just getting bored. But actually 3 of them hung on in there for 2 years, and they moved them to the end of this coal heap, and they sat there in a hut with nobody bringing them anything, but they kept getting their salary. They thought this was fine for a while. But eventually they too left. I mean, as employer relations go, I would not advise it. You will definitely be taken to a tribunal. But it was just quite bizarre that people would hang on in there with no value, adding nothing at all. But then you might go, I know lots of people like that who are working in this country. But anyway. Okay, emotional and social capital. Ever feel like this? Like Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill, and when you get to the top it rolls back down again. How resilient are you to adversity? And he's got plan A crossed out, plan B crossed out, he's now on plan C. What did you learn recovering from it? So it's not the fact that you have a problem, it's how you solve what you are given. Everybody has problems, it's how you solve them and who you use and involve. And remember not to go on your own and try and do it all in a quiet little room with an ice pack on your head. Involve people early. They actually can help you to save yourself time. But think about resilience. There's a whole lot around stress, resilience that we can talk about maybe in questions at the end. Okay, this is called, it's a little 4-box chart called the the physiology of performance. And what we found at the top is your sympathetic nervous system. That fires you up in the morning, or when I had the snooze in there, when I got back up, my sympathetic nervous system kicked in. My parasympathetic nervous system would let me slow down and snooze. So that's what relaxes you. On the left is low performance linked to negative emotions. So when you're thinking negative emotions, poor me, the victim, you will perform to that level. It's called expectation theory. If you think people are useless, incompetent, and they will fail in their job, they will do. If you think they're great and they'll do well, there's a whole research done into it. It's called expectation theory. I could talk about it in more later on. They will surprise you. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. You're probably right. Positive emotions linked to high performance. So, when you've got positive emotions, the body creates, in the master gland of the brain, it's binary. It either creates cortisol, the stress hormone, linked to negative emotions, or it creates DHEA, and don't ask me please what it stands for, I haven't got a clue, but it's a very long word. I'll help you look it up on Google. We can both be addicts on the internet with positive emotions. So let's see what happens if you're in the survival zone. Survival zone, I imagine, is where most of you spend a lot of your time at work. So you're fired up with adrenaline, that's got you going, but you've got negative emotions about your colleague, work, the environment, all sorts of things that are going on. And those kind of emotions you'll notice, yeah? Just give me a thumbs up if you've seen some of those kind of emotions in your colleagues or even in yourself, yeah? Then, when it's gone too far and you're utterly exhausted, it's apathy. What's the point working here? My boss, she never listens to me. You know, like one of the air stewardesses saying, you know, I love being in this organisation. I just like my manager to talk to me more than once a year. Yeah, come on. This is like, what's the point? No one's interested in what I'm doing. I might as well just not exist. That's really a time when you then need this bit, which is what Lee and I have been doing either side of coming to talk to you today, which is the holiday time. Yeah, this is when you relax at the weekend, or you switch off, or you have your snooze, but you chill out, you relax. You must have this renewal time. And one of the problems I'm very conscious of with our pilots in the room is if you're not getting this renewal and you're not having the time off, people go, oh, they've got far too much holiday. No, You need this, otherwise you create a problem because the brain isn't functioning. This is all linked to what's called the heart brain. This is all connected to the heart. It's a mini brain. The gut is a mini brain. 89 billion neurons, 40,000 around the heart, 100 million in your gut. So they're mini brains. They're sending more information to your brain than the brain is sending to them. But you must get the renewal for you then to be in the key point here, the performance zone, dynamic, on the game, in the zone. Right? That's where you want to be operating. Very happy if you want to send these slides to people afterwards. And they've got notes written at the bottom. Those of you who like a lot about stress and all sorts of things, the notes are at the bottom so you can read all that and some of the research into it. Okay, brand reputation, image and impact. And it says there, what's your personal brand, reputation, image and impact? As you look in the mirror, what do you see? And it's a very interesting exercise that Lee and I do with some of our coaching clients. We stand beside them where we can't be seen in the mirror. We ask them to look in the mirror. Tell us what you see. Very interesting what people say. How they describe themselves and what they see. Blokes, it's normally, hey, God, don't look fine. God, my muscles are big today. Whoa, I'm looking good. Then we go, oh, God, I'm not good in this outfit. The colour's wrong, my makeup's not right, all this kind of stuff. Blokes, yeah, constantly, we have a problem, guys. You know, we have to be more humility, and we need to help. It came in our survey. Even when women are respected by the organisation as being well thought of, they still are harder on themselves than they should be about how they come across. So there's a lot to be done about how people see you and how you see other people. It's called the horns and halo effect. Anybody just give me a thumbs up if you've heard of the horns and halo effect? Yeah. So some people you see as, you know, devil incarnate. Others really like her. She's great, always good. So whenever he does something, it's always going to be bad. Whenever she does something, she cannot do wrong. You know, that favorite, playing favorites. I think that's probably enough I want to talk about that. And add that what we're finding now is most useful is a 360 version we've done of this, where you get, we do some work with Marshall Goldsmith, who's voted as the world's #1 thinker on leadership, and one of the world's top coaches, and he's trained us up in how to get 360 feedback on you, phone interviews and one-to-one interviews with you, so you've got some real data about yourself on how others see you. So you're not deluding yourself. And then you choose 2 areas to improve, you work on that through the year with your coach, and at the end, you're constantly measuring what the stakeholders think about your reputation and your performance. So it's not what you think of yourself, that's delusion, that's Donald Trump. It's what other people think of how you've performed. And before we now going to switch to you in a minute, legacy. What are you going to score yourself on legacy? This is, you know, what difference are you leaving? Are you leaving the job better than you found it? Are you putting something back into the community? Are you doing something for charity, for others? And this is why Lee set up the charity, because we found so many leaders like yourself wanted to do something, not just paint some fence for a charity once a year and feel good about it and go, yes, we've done corporate social responsibility, tick. But actually, they want, in all they do, to be leaving a legacy. Can I ask for 2 volunteers, 1 man, 1 female, 1 male, 1 female, who'll come down to the front? We've got prizes for each of them. One female, 1 male, to come and share what is their area they want to work on, the feed forward they've received. Come on, there must be somebody with some courage and some humility. Who's coming? Thank you. 1 male, 1 female. No, just down here, just down here. Right, great. Thank you to you both. So, okay, and your name is?
Hi, Anna.
Anna, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Can you all hear Anna?
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, so Anna, would you share with us? I'll just go back on. So what's the leadership behaviour you want to work on?
I was just talking with my partner. We're new leaders on board. We just started our journey about 2 weeks ago. So we're saying one that I would like to improve is for them to see me more as a leader, not as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
okay.
We're still new, so we're still trying to develop ourselves and find our identity. Mm-hmm. And I think I need to find that before I can inspire others. So that's something I want to work on.
Okay. And always remember that I think there's a theme. Someone said, we often think, I'll be ready when, ... I'll be happy when, ... Actually, do it now. So you're a leader now. You've been given an appointment, but a leadership is a choice. So are you choosing to be a leader? Do you want to be a leader?
I want to, yes.
Okay. Well, here's a present from Lee and myself. This is top tips for inspiring women leaders. A little copy for you from us. But thank you. Can you please give a round of applause? Thank you. Right, sir. And hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
What's your
My name's Matthew.
Matthew. So Matthew, tell us what's the area that you're going to work on?
The one that I've chosen to focus on this year is challenging toxic behaviour and not being a bystander.
That's a very good one. And did you get any feed forward from your colleague on 1, 2 things you could do?
I also picked up on the point that you made about the conflict or the
Non-violent communications.
Yeah, so starting to be a bit more factual about what's happening rather than maybe going into conflict as well.
Yeah, that's quite good. And so I think the area you've picked is a really good one. And often people go, well, how can just, me and a couple other people, what difference can we make? And I'm always taken by the work that Lee does, trying to change the lives for these individual girls who've been through abuse or difficulty, or they've just been dropped out by society. And it's the story of the starfish. When you're walking on a lovely beach somewhere here, out here in this part of the world, and the starfish drying on the beach, and you see a little old lady, and she's in her gear, and she's picking things up off the beach, and you go and ask her what she's doing, and she says, "I'm saving the starfish." You go, "Look, there's thousands of them. They're all drying." She said, "But I made a difference to that one." So if you can just, one person can, many of the big changes in the world have been done by men and women who made a stand on something, but actually people will learn you, not what you're saying. They'll learn how you're behaving. So if you want to change the world, you begin yourself first. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have a present from us.
Thank you.
So, we promised to finish on time, and being a good military man and knowing you've all got to go home, I just want to remind you of that one, Mark Twain's quote. And I really do hope that today has stimulated, and particularly for those of you who are reflectors, stimulated you to think about things, and do let your organisation know if there's more things here. We've skimmed across the surface, Lee and I. We love being here. We were here 2 years ago. We'll happily come back again in a year's time when we're out here again to see you guys. If you want to go in more depth on certain topics, health, well-being, resilience, stress, heart math, what affects our heart and how the heart and the brain are linked together. Top tips, the books, if they can get enough warning of what you want, if you all want a copy of the book or something like that. There's little pocket books that you can, because they're just tips from other leaders who've been where you've been. As one guy said to me, he was an American general who'd been in the many conflicts many years ago, a long time ago. He said, "Jonathan, you haven't got time. You haven't got time to make all the mistakes that I've made. Let me tell you where some of the anti-personnel mines are buried. You don't have to stand on those ones. I've done that already. Lost bits of my foot. But there's new ones they don't tell you about. They go out at night and they bury new ones. So I can't help you with those, but I can short circuit your learning process. So my advice to you is really go away and think about what you've learned today, and I really hope it's stimulated your thought to read more widely. I was dyslexic as a kid, so I have a real problem in reading. I can read. I am not that bad in my dyslexia, but I listen. I'm auditory. So each year I read about 50 non-fiction books and about 20 or 30 fiction books. I do it by auditory while I'm traveling all the time. I've got earphones in, listening to a book on neuroscience or leadership or something to help people like yourselves who are hungry and want to learn more. So I just encourage you, the average person in the UAE, do you know how many non-fiction books they read a year? Both on, Kindle or whatever. How many? Just guess, how many non-fiction books a year? 1. So if you, it's a bit of a clue. So if you read 2 on your particular topic you're interested in, you're an expert. So Lee and I, as always, have really enjoyed being with you. We'll stay for about another half hour before we catch our transport. But thank you for your time, and we wish you every success in your future as inspiring leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.